sharing our stories connects us. Listen and be connected. Join us for the conversation meeting weekly at the intersection of community and culture. Hosted by Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter. Oh, what happened there, Joey?
Yo.
There's that resonating sound that we love so much. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this, your Wednesday midday edition of The Conversation. You are listening to WMNF 88.5, The Conversation. My name is Mario Nunez, and as always, I am seated alongside my broadcast partner,
Joe King Carter, good afternoon.
Who is present and accounted for. Joey, the Wednesdays just keep rocking and rolling, don't they?
Flying by, brother.
Man, they're coming at us, like a freight train going downhill with no brakes.
That's because it's a glorious space to be here with our audience at WMNF. It's a wonderful place to be, and you look forward to it, and then it goes away again. So
I know, and I've always heard that expression, if I don't leave, then I can't come back. Because they say, don't leave. Well, but I got to go. So that way you're welcoming me when I come back.
Right.
So every Wednesday, here we sit with you, and you're listening again to WMNF 88.5. Perhaps you're listening to WMNF.org from anywhere you happen to be in the world, adjusting for the time zone, of course. And what a week it was. What a week it promises to be going forward. Joey, I don't even know where to begin. There's so much to talk about in the news. But let's start with some kind of topical and happy news. Happy if you're a fan of youth sports. Today, Joey, the Little League World Series, the Boys Little League World Series starts today. I say that because the girls finished last week. The girls always go first, right? They don't get quite the pub because, they're girls. And I say that as a abuelo of two granddaughters. And I'll be changing my tune pretty soon. In fact,
be careful.
In fact, I'm changing my tune now because what you have to understand is that the girls, they play just as hard.
Yes.
They put forth just as much of the effort.
Absolutely.
The difference being, and I had this discussion with somebody who's a little bit more of a sports aficionado than yourself, my brother. But,
yes.
But you'll understand this when I tell you.
Yes.
The girls play with such joy. They celebrate each play. They celebrate each success. It's not like, they have that thing where we have to win at all costs. Yeah, sure, they're competing and they want to win.
Right.
Because that's the idea.
Right.
But the joy that they exhibit when they're participating in their endeavors is remarkable. And I love it, and it makes me smile.
Well, the lesson to learn there is the lesson that I have learned many, many, many hundreds, if not thousands of times in my life.
Tell me.
Which is that men have a lot to learn from women.
Amen.
The female energy is what we need to embrace now more than ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? We could have embraced it back last November. We could have embraced it.
Yeah,
we could have embraced it, Joey.
Yeah, I know.
We could have been walking a different path in a different light right now, Joey.
Yeah.
And having different conversations.
Can't cry over spilled milk.
I'm still crying.
If the milk comes again, let's not spill it.
Oh, I don't know what you just said there, but I'm going to write it down because I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you do.
So anything new in your life, Joey, real quick, before we get to our guest today?
Well, speaking of those negatives, I think the militarization of cities is pretty frightening. And I think that if you're someone who's not paying attention, if that's not getting your attention, something's wrong with you. Yeah. Because the militarization of cities appears to our president has said that he's going to expand that effort.
But only in blue cities, where people of color reside, and of course Democratic legislatures.
But I mean, of all the things that have happened, if that didn't get your attention, well, you're not paying attention.
Well, you had me at pedophilia, Joe. I mean, I couldn't get past that one. That's a different issue.
Yeah, I understand.
I couldn't get past that one.
But taking over cities, that's a different thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'll leave you with this thought before we get to our guest. I'll leave you with these two words.
Yes.
Ready? Opus Dei.
Yes.
Do a deep dive. Just kind of look that up and see where that takes you. But I would suggest you do it during the daylight hours and perhaps sometime around the noon hour because it's the daylight of the daylight hours. And it will probably send a chill down your back. But yes, to your point, Joey, militarization is scary. It's scary times.
Yes.
All right, Joe. So as we do here each and every week on The Conversation, we invite some noteworthy, some important Tampeño to sit in with us here on the dais, and we tell both personal stories And then we do a little deeper dive into their professional narrative. And today we have a guest that brings a lot of both.
That's right. And I took your card from you because I wanted to make sure I got this part right. We have with us today Taryn Barbas Kramer.
Close.
And
in your Bradenton gringo style.
There
Go ahead.
you go. And welcome, Taryn.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Now, I have a quick question immediately because I saw your when I first saw your name. Do you know the meaning of Taryn, and where did Taryn come from?
Like, how did my parents find it? Or
I
what's the meaning?
suppose, whatever you'd like to share.
So my parents wanted a name that is hard to identify, right?
Yeah.
As so many parents do, they want to give their kids the best shot, have that good resume name. And so their bank teller.
I got Joe, by the way.
Their bank teller, when my mom was pregnant, her name was Taryn. She was married actually to Buddy McKay. And so notable Tampa family there that's in Atlanta now. But yeah, so they loved Taryn. They didn't want a nickname. And so Taryn doesn't really go into anything else, and that's it.
Have you delved into the meaning of your name?
According to the little sign on my bedroom wall as a child, it's Gaelic, so Irish. And I don't know anything past that.
Well, all things Irish are sweet and wonderful. But the point is, here's my take, if you don't mind. The moon has a name. It's not the moon. It's Luna. Mm-hmm. It's Latin. It's the scientific name of the moon. And the sun has a name. It's Sol. Okay? And this planet we live on has a name. It's Terra. Mm-hmm. And if you're an inhabitant of this planet, you're a Terran.
Oh.
So your name means earthling.
Great. It fits.
Come on, Joey. Come on. That was a long walk, but I loved it. I loved it.
You are among us, the human, the earthling. So
I would only ask Joey that you reconsider your pronunciation of S-O-L, because it's really soul, but that's okay, right?
It can be Saul or soul, actually.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not
so
arguing.
there you go.
I'm not in an argumentative mood today, Joey.
Yeah. So, you grew up in?
Tampa roots.
I did. I grew up in Tampa. I'm actually third generation Tampa.
Tampeña in this case.
Tampeña, exactly. And so my great-grandparents immigrated from Cuba via Spain here in the early 1900s, and they came over. My great-grandfather was a doctor. My great-grandmother was a phlebotomist, and they came over to help found La Benéfica at Centro Español.
Oh,
and
wow.
so we've got long Ybor City roots, and so then they had my great-grandfather, Dr. Carlos Barbas, and my great-grandmother, Gloria Barbas. She's from here, went to Jefferson High School, and on that side, they had Rose Grocery in Ybor City.
Wow.
And so then my father, and his two brothers and sister all grew up here. And then they had me. My dad and my mom met in New Orleans while my dad was in law school, and my mom was going to St. Mary's Dominican, an all-girls school in New Orleans. My mom's originally from Panama. And so they met, and they got married, moved back to Tampa, and here we are.
Your father was at Tulane?
My father was at Loyola, New Orleans.
Loyola,
for law school.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Taryn, you know that there are names of doctors in Tampa that resonate with a certain group of us. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Barbas was one of them.
Exactly.
I mean, there were Martinez Corpas was another one that I can think of off the top of my head. There are many, but Barbas was certainly one of them. So you are a descendant of that wonderful lineage. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I was fortunate. My great-grandmother, she lived to be 101, so I grew up with her, and I grew up with those stories firsthand. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, can you share one or two of them with us now? Maybe just the one that always resonates. It may be a holiday story. It may be something around Easter. It may be just something around a family gathering. But is there one that you always remember as your grandmother?
My grandmother, she was a great lady, always in heels. So just like me, you can't tell from here, but 5 feet tall, always in heels. There's never an occasion to take off your shoes, Taryn, especially if you're at a wedding. You keep those heels on.
Right. Learn to dance in them, baby.
Exactly. Learn to dance in them. Learn to cook in them. So that's certainly one of those lessons that I got from her. But she is very big on family. She is the type that her grandchildren could do no wrong. And that was a big part of her. And, she was a great support to my grandfather in his medical practice. And so she taught me and about, the importance of supporting your spouse, supporting your family, and that supporting their work. And they work together, right? They work together at
Phlebotomist
the
doctor.
clinic.
Sure.
Exactly. Every day, and that can translate into a level of respect, and that can grow a marriage in great ways.
Absolutely.
Did you ever see her work doing her work? I'm just curious, Taryn. Did you ever see her doing her
no.
work? Because the early phlebotomist days, and Joe and I talk about this from time to time, it's really to have been a small child in the early 60s and have had to have blood drawn. It was quite the experience and frightening in a lot of ways because we had different techniques and it involved a razor blade. I'll just say that, and a deft touch at being able to just poke the skin enough to be able to draw the blood. It's incredible the way technology and everything has changed. I'm just curious if, because those of us that came from cigar rollers, I can remember my grandparents and their siblings rolling cigars at the kitchen table because they would all have their tools. They'd bring them home and they'd, roll for their friends or whatever at home.
Yes.
And you can remember that.
Absolutely.
So doctor and phlebotomist, your grandfather had the black bag, no doubt.
Yes.
With the stethoscope and the syringes, the glass syringes at the time that needed to be sterilized. Quite a different time.
Yes, absolutely. And then, the cigar side of things. That was my grandmother's side, that line. And they were cigar rollers, and then they went to having the grocery store. And so it's funny because we have that conversation now with my children who, rightfully so, are taught, don't smoke, don't do these things.
Right.
I have a daughter, she started 4th grade today. And she's always on my husband. And my husband's a gringo, but he has adapted the culture, and she's always on him.
As one is wont to do, because it's a fabulous culture.
Exactly. And so she's always like, you can't smoke those cigars. You can't smoke those cigars. And he tells her, no, these are cultural. This actually helps, Papa.
That's well, I'm a lay historian in Ybor City, and I conduct history tours. And one of the things I try to do in the beginning of a tour is impress people with, I say, I'm planting a seed in your mind that's not there now, which is this. You cannot possibly understand the profound impact of cigars in the end of the 19th century. It was the biggest game in town. Most men smoked cigars if they could either afford them or, unless they had some religious view that prevented them. We had cigar parlors and houses, right? So that industry was so huge that it fed men like Vicente Martinez Ybor, who came here and created a city. So the cigar, yes, I understand why you would see it as maybe a stinky thing over there, but it really had a profound effect on our world.
Absolutely. And not in our house, right?
Yeah,
it's
right.
cultural. There's no stinky.
Unless
cultural.
it's only stinky if you didn't have an abuelo who smoked cigars, who you loved and were very fond of. Because then
all the memories.
There you go.
That is
it's
exactly
a different
what that
olfactory
evokes.
sensation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What do you have an idea of what year your grandparents came to Ybor City? Do you know about when that was?
I want to say it was around 1904.
Wow.
Things were still thriving, Joey.
Yeah.
Things
So
were still
your
thriving.
grandparents, that's fascinating. Your grandparents remembered the golden period of Ybor City when
100%.
it was just
Absolutely.
cranking. Culturally, it was cranking economically. Amazing.
The social clubs were in full swing.
Yeah,
Full swing.
absolutely.
Exactly. Well, that's why they came over
Yeah.
to help build
To
it.
participate.
To be the
Wow.
first doctor that was, treating patients through these social clubs because they couldn't get services in other places.
Right.
And, that really goes to that socio-justice that has just wound through our lives and our careers. And you see that with my grandparents and what they did, being a physician, treating people whether they could pay or not. Then you see that with my parents and my uncles. My father is an attorney. My uncle's a judge. My other uncle and aunt are very involved in the communities and giving back. And that's just something that's woven through you.
It's in our DNA. It's certainly in our DNA.
And it's rich.
Yeah.
It's a rich part of that history that your grandparents were a part of because, if they came in around 1901 or 1905, Ybor City was only 20 years old.
Right.
It was a brand new city. None of us have ever lived in a brand new city. They were living in a place where community was everything and connection was everything. And they also embraced a level of community
Tolerance, no, Joey?
Tolerance and socialism in their clubs. And that was very positive for them.
Stronger together.
Yeah.
Exactly. I went to Notre Dame for my undergraduate degree, and I remember sitting in on a sociology class, one of the electives, and they actually referred to Tampa. And I was shocked, right? Because here I am in South Bend, Indiana, not anticipating hearing about Tampa. And what they were talking about was that it is one of the few societies that you can point to where everybody lived together for the most part. You had the Italians
side by
with
side.
the Cubans, with the Spaniards. Everybody's there working side by side, regardless of what part of Italy they're from,
Right.
what part of Spain, et cetera. And so it was interesting to hear that, you know, I mean, we really are a model for how you can mesh those cultures together. And we see it in our food.
Joey and I talk about that all the time, don't we, Joey?
Yes,
We-
absolutely.
We sing those praises. I'm surprised you didn't jump out of your seat in that auditorium and go, those are my people.
Right. I'm
from-
Taryn from Tampa.
Exactly. On a T-shirt, right?
You know, you can make the case that Tampa would be the most culturally diverse city in the South, next to New Orleans. You'd have to
100%.
you'd have to give New Orleans number one, but Tampa would be number two in the entire
Absolutely,
South.
yes.
So it's a legacy that's amazing.
Your grandfather would have been a contemporary of Dr. Treyes, for whom the clinic was named. I mean, they would have been not competitors, but they would have been doctors of note in the community that served all of those people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you grew up in this rich culture. You have siblings?
I do. I have a sister. She lives in London. She went to, after college, she went to Florida State. And then after college, she went to Spain, taught English for a couple of years to kids who, you know, in their school system. And then she went to London to get her master's in communication, where she met my brother-in-law, who is lovely. And they got married, and they've been married now for 9 years, and they're probably never coming over here. My brother-in-law, he's great, and he's the only son of a Jewish mother, and so
She's not going far. He's
Right.
not going far.
He's not going far, but they're wonderful. They're a great family, and you know, my sister is really fortunate to have all of that.
Joey, I was just going to say, adjust your mirror so you can see me in your rearview mirror when I come up behind you. So I'm thinking, how shall I say this? And I don't want to be indelicate. Has she lost her flavor, her taste for the cafetera? Is she now only putting on a cuppa? Is she only putting on the kettle?
No. My sister is not just a tea drinker. She still loves her cafecito.
There you go. That's what I was driving
And
at.
when we go over there, or she comes over here, there's an empty suitcase that gets filled.
There you go.
And to your cultural point, it gets filled with anything from cafecito to instant grits.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we've got
Oh, yeah.
that southern part in Tampa
Oh,
here.
yes, you do.
Absolutely. I talk to my friends who are of Sicilian descent a lot, because we see Sicilians through the lens of the national image of the Godfather and all this kind of cultural stuff. The Sicilians of Ybor City were kind of cracker Sicilians. I mean, they were very different, right? So let me ask you now: if we were to see little 9-year-old Taryn, what kind of girl were you growing up?
You know, I'm probably the prototype for oldest daughter, right? I'm the oldest daughter, oldest granddaughter on my mom's side, oldest niece. So all those things
Little
that
serious,
come
maybe?
with,
Little serious?
Right. I come with being type A, you know, making sure everything's taken care of, taking care of my siblings and all that. I was really fortunate. I went to Academy of the Holy Names from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade.
Wow.
And so I had great teachers, a very stable community.
Foundation education was strong.
Exactly. And, you know, my mother loved it because it was similar to what she had seen in Panama with the all-girls element and with the Catholic schools. And so it was great. It laid a wonderful foundation for me. I was dancing all the time, right? And so I took dance and...
Miss Jackie's?
No, I went to Carlin DeMarco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was I had a wonderful childhood. My parents made sure that, you know, those were priorities. I always knew education was a priority. Back to the Lela, for my great grandmother, you know, she was big on they can take everything from you except for what's between your ears. And so
they were wise. They were so wise.
Yes.
Exactly.
They knew
Absolutely.
They knew what was going on around them at the time, and they knew just what to drop into the bucket so that you know.
Exactly. And so
Yes.
I was always told, you know, whatever you have to do, make sure that education is a priority. Cut back in other places so that you can have.
Don't sacrifice that education.
Exactly.
Always great advice.
And of course, then they made sure that they were at your recitals because they wanted to round you out, you know, your personality out. So
Yeah,
they wanted to see you
exactly.
doing physical activity too.
Right.
Your extracurricular stuff was dance, or were there other things?
So I was also a cheerleader. And so I was.
Of course you were in heels, in heels,
In heels.
doing her round-offs in heels.
Yeah. So I was a cheerleader at Jesuit High School. And then actually I was a cheerleader at Notre Dame.
Wow.
So it was a really great, unique opportunity for me for college, be on the field that Rudy was
Come
on and
on,
all
man.
those sorts
Come
of things.
on. Wow.
There you go.
So it's great. And it's great to be able to bring my kids back. We had a reunion there last year, and they let everybody on the field. And I went up with my dad and my husband and our 2 kids at that time. And they were so excited. And I was like, guys, people don't get to do this. Like, they don't get
This
to
is
walk
really
on the field
special.
and touch the play like a champion sign. And you're
Right.
getting to do all of it.
Right.
And
Awesome.
so it's a
So
lot of
you're
fun.
in high
pretty
school
cool.
and you're this A personality student. You're doing your best. You're achieving. Life is good. What happens that you begin to decide what you want to do when you leave high school?
Sure. So, I love Tampa. I love warm weather. And so I remember telling my mom, I'm not going up north.
South Bend ain't warm, baby. In the
Exactly.
wintertime.
And so she says to me, no, you don't have to go there, but you need to apply to Notre Dame, because when I talk to people back home, that's one of the schools that they hear about, because of the Catholic identity in Central and South America. And so I was like, all right. And so I was all set. I was applying to a lot of the state schools in the South. And my best friend, and she had been my best friend from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And so her parents are going up to Notre Dame, and they're like, hey, do you want Taryn to come along with us on this college visit? And so my parents said, sure, that sounds great. Of course, I thought it was great. Like, we're going to go on a trip with my friend. And I called my mom and I said, I think this is it. I think I made a mistake. I think I don't want to go to insert whatever school was at the time. And I said, I want to go to Notre Dame. This is something special. And so my dad and I had a sit down talk, and you can hear Lila's voice, right? Because we were in the back of the Chili's that was right by the football stadium.
Sure.
Until Mabry. And we're sitting at a table, and we make a pros and cons list between there and a state school that, with bright futures would have been free. And so we go through it all, and he's like, okay, here's our pros and cons list. And he says that this was very impactful to him. And he says, why do you think you should go to Notre Dame? Because the list on the free state school was quite long in terms of pros.
And at the bottom, big FRE.
Right.
Exactly. And I say to him, I think I'm just going to be a better person if I go to Notre Dame. And
Wow.
he was like, how do you
she had
tell?
already met Touchdown Jesus.
Yeah, right.
She had already met him.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Right.
he says, how do you tell your 18-year-old no after that line?
Right.
And I'm fortunate. My parents gave me so many opportunities, and they gave me that opportunity to go up north. So I go up there, and my best friend goes up there. So
Come
we go
on.
to
This
school
story is getting...
Really?
I don't even believe this story anymore,
To Notre
Taryn.
Dame.
to Notre Dame.
That's
So we go to
beautiful.
Notre Dame
Wow.
together. And Notre Dame is strict. They don't let you pick your roommate. So we're going up there, but we're going to be in 2 different dorms and all that. So we have our own experiences. I wind up being a cheerleader there, walking on the team. She, is more into drama, and she's pre-med. And so we have our own experiences, but we've got this lifelong friendship. We actually don't separate until I go to law school and she goes to dental school. And so... And she is the madrina for my...
Of course she is.
For my kids.
We would be remiss right now if we didn't drop her name, so please.
Oh, yes. So her name is Dr. Nicole McCowan.
There you go.
Yes. She is a wonderful, wonderful part of my life and just a great support system. So we're up at Notre Dame, and I go into business. Didn't know what I wanted to do. I am a finance major because it's kind of like, well, those people seem to know what they do, and they all seem to be very successful. Like, why not? And I'm on the Wall Street track, so to speak, of that's kind of what you do when you graduate from there. And
Notre Dame's on your resume.
yeah, so it looks good, and I just realized I can do this. This is not at all what I want to do. And so I wind up changing majors my junior year from finance to marketing. And so I get a great job with Coca-Cola, #1 brand in the world. Pretty exciting.
Moved to Atlanta?
Well, here's the deal. So this is what caused this drastic shift. So I actually was in Chicago, and I was in charge of all their Latin brands. So the Fantas, for example, they were really pushing Hispanic
Or as we say
brands.
in our home, Fanta.
Exactly. And I was in charge of the Fantanas and how they did their
love it.
appearances and
I love
everything,
it.
the girls who would
Sure.
go and do that. And so I talked to my boss, and I started to realize to move up at Coke, you have to move all over the globe. When there's an opportunity, you move. And what South Bend taught me was there are great things to learn from other people, but I want to go back to Tampa.
Yeah.
There was not that level of integration among cultures and among ideas present at Notre Dame. Or
That
it
was your
at Notre
experience as a
Dame.
child.
It was not
outside of Notre Dame.
Of Notre Dame, exactly. And I really start to see that in the working world. And so I call my parents, and I'm like, I'm not really sure what I want to do. And then my mother, who is great, and when she speaks up, like she's drawn the line, and she says, we won't help you with graduate school once you become an adult. So you either go straight through or you start to work. So I was like, oh, so mom's pushing me. I don't know this, right? But all the moms out there, I'm sure can recognize, there are times when you're pushing your child in the direction that you think is best. And so while maybe I wanted a gap year, those things, mom was like, nope, education, let's keep that truck rolling.
Palante.
Exactly. What's the worst that happens if you go to law school? Mm-hmm. And so we talk about that, and we talk about the similarities. What is marketing? It's looking at consumers, figuring out what it is that they want, how to get them to do what you want, how to get them to buy your product. What is
trends,
lawyering,
persuasion,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Trends, persuasion,
exactly.
Right.
And so I also realized from that experience, well, if I want to go home, then I need to be licensed in Florida, and so that's how I wound up going to Florida State because I didn't want to be in a market that fed to another city. I saw how Notre Dame fed into Chicago. All the schools do that. Emory's going to feed into Atlanta. They all feed into their major metropolitans, and I want
very smart
Tampa.
Right.
So how do I get back to Tampa? And so that narrows it down pretty quickly. So
you're either Gator, you're Knoll.
Exactly. And so Florida State had the best law school in the state at the time, and so it was a great fit. They had small classes, which was a huge surprise to me. There were only 60 people who were in my section. So I started at Florida State. It's wonderful. In my first year of law school, I meet my husband, my now husband. But interestingly, so you get your first assignment in law school, and it's called a brief, and it's the first thing you write. And law school is very competitive. It's on a forced bell curve. No two people can be at the top of the class. There has to be a number one and a number two. There can't be two number ones. They'll force the grade. And so Professor Wolf, she gives us all of our assignment. It's the first semester of law school. At the end of it, she says, she's walking around the classroom, and she says, all right, some of you will be surprised to see your papers. Like there's a lot of red on those pages. This is the first time you've probably ever experienced it. And for those of you that want to know where the bar lies and who you need to beat to get ahead in this class, it's Jake Kramer and Taryn Barbas.
Wow.
Wow.
And just like that.
Wow.
So you looked at him and you said, okay, all right, I got you. I see you.
Yes. Right. And so now we had laptops in law school. This was like the early years of when it was okay to start bringing in your thing. And there was AIM, like the instant messenger for AOL.
Sure, right.
And so a little message pops up from JT Kramer, and my handle was "Kiss Me, I'm ND Irish." And
love that.
And the little message pops up, and it says, "Hey, looks like we're going to be study partners." Oh. And that was my husband's first contact.
This is a smart guy right here.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's, you know what? This story is just, it's got to have a happy ending because right now it's in the middle of the happy part. But we also have a growing family that we need to talk to. We're going to get to our station ID now, and then we're going to come back, talk a little bit more personal times with Taryn, and then get into what she's doing professionally here in Tampa. We're just so happy to have you with us today, Taryn. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Lochte, and you're listening to The Conversation with Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter on WMNF Tampa 88.5 FM.
The dulcet tones of Dr. Bob Lochte.
He's perfect. And the great brain of...
So I just want to mention this Bob right Lochte. Now before we come right back to Taryn, that Tito Rosette, who is one of our big fans, he texts me just about every week after each show because he listens, and he's listening now, I'm sure.
And we appreciate him so much.
Tito said, Mario, I can't read it because I'm doing Facebook Live presently, so I can't read it verbatim, but I'll just say that he said... I hadn't thought about it until you mentioned it on the air. I knew his voice, Dr. Bob's voice, sounded familiar, but I didn't know who it was until you mentioned Dan Rather. And then he saw it. He saw it. He said, he just sounds so much like Dan Rather. But thank you, Dr. Bob, for being here last week. That was a wonderful show.
Yeah.
Taryn, your husband was pretty wily and pretty slick early on in your relationship by saying, he already knew if I can't beat him, I'm going to join him. And but you still had to get along. I mean, he still had to have the personality that meshed with yours.
Yes.
And we know the one thing about Tampeños, we are opinionated and we do know what we like.
Absolutely.
And we don't compromise too much.
No. So you're going to love this because my husband is from a farm. I think that I'm a longtime Floridian, being 3 generations here. You don't get that very often. My husband is 7th generation Floridian.
Wow.
Our children are 8th generation Floridian.
Wait just a minute.
Wow.
Maybe we should have had him in here today with us as well.
Yes.
Well, we'll bring him in the month that we're talking about maybe agriculture and,
Yeah, there you go. So
and farming.
So
Where did he grow up?
He grew up in Palatka, Florida.
Palatka.
So on his family's timber farm, which we still help to manage and run. And so when I met Jake referred to Tampa as South Florida. And he's
How about
like,
that?
I've never been to South Florida. And I was like, well, I don't live in South Florida, so I guess we're okay. And so now because I had done this major move, right? Decided to change jobs, careers, paths, move to Tallahassee specifically so I can end up in
Come back
Tampa.
home.
I tell him, I'm not interested in dating anybody, and I'm certainly not interested in winding up in the Panhandle. I am going to Tampa. That is the plan. That is why I'm coming back. And if you don't like Tampa, this is not going to work.
Wow.
Said it just like that. So he comes down and we do a Chamber of Commerce weekend. We go to a Lightning game. We go to a spring training game. It was great weather.
Columbia,
we do all these things. Right. We go to the Columbia. We do all the great food things. And I tell him, I'm not saying we have to be forever, but I'm not going to waste my time if you don't see yourself living here. And we're talking, this is a man who drives a truck with giant wheels and, he's Southern.
Palatka, baby.
Palatka.
Do we need to say any more than Palatka?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
He knows his way around a rifle rack. Now cut it out.
Exactly. So he
I'm teasing
comes
Jake.
down
I'm
here
teasing.
and he loves it, which is great. And so now that gives
Smart
us
man.
permission to, all right, I can fall in love with you, you can fall in love with me, because we're going to end up in Tampa. But we graduated in 2010 and it's the recession, and Jake went to law school. So I went to law school kind of not knowing what I want to do, like a lot of people who go to law school. And I was kind of ticking off the things that I didn't like as I do it. Jake went to law school knowing what he wanted to do. He has his master's in urban planning. He wanted to do the type of law that regulated the farmland he grew up on. He wanted to be a land use attorney. Well, in 2010, we have the big real estate bust. There are no jobs anywhere. The only place where there's job is where there's fake money, and I call that Tallahassee. You've got political money, and you've got tuition dollars. So that city is still thriving, but everywhere else, there's no jobs. And so Jake says, I've got this great job offer. It's here in Tallahassee. I'm like, that's great. But you know what? I'm going home. And we can figure this out. And he's like, we can't figure this out because long distance, we're both going to be first year practicing attorneys. There are no weekends. We're just going to be working. And I told him, well, dumb girls stay for their boyfriend. You want to make this a little bit more of an assurance, I might consider Tallahassee, but I'm not doing this because you like me a lot. And so the ultimatum proposal.
Did he put a ring on it?
He did. He
there
did.
you go.
So we got
Smart
married.
man, Jake.
Exactly. We got married a week after the bar exam. And so we stayed in Tallahassee for a couple of years. And then we were able to move down here in 2012. And so have been here ever since.
And did you share a little bit about your personal history, your grandparents and the Centro and all that meant to you as a means of an inducement and enticement to...
Absolutely. So what he loves is that Tampa isn't a new city, so to speak. It's got that history. It has that appreciation. And so he has become equally entrenched in our community. I shared with Joe before we were on air that, or not with Joe, but I'll share with you now, Joe, that I am on the board for Centro Asturiano.
Oh, awesome.
And Jake has represented several of the social clubs with their land disputes and issues that go on.
Oh, good.
Because it's just a part of this history that we really want to preserve. I'm on the Centro Asturiano board. My parents, or my great-grandparents, were at both Centro Español and Centro Asturiano.
Right.
I would love for the opportunity to really cement the history of those two clubs together. You've seen a lot with Centro Español having sold its building
Yes.
And losing a lot of its identity in doing that, because
Yes.
you lose that common space for people to come and share memories together.
And really, to your credit and to your board's credit and to the credit of everybody involved, the Asturiano is really an amazing club still in the community, and it's doing wonderful things. Comes to mind recently the renovation
theater.
of the
Absolutely.
theater. And
Gorgeous.
It's really, it stands out that that and the Italian club both stand out as real community clubs that have survived in
we
their
are
membership.
thriving, and that's in no small part due to the
Yes.
legacy of the people who continue to run it. We've got Crystal Lastra
Lastra.
now from JC Newman, who has been our president the last few years and has this tremendous vision for it. But we have people like KR Lombardia, who's been in the community,
KR's
taught
wife,
everybody, right? Judy is in there. And
Judy Blanco?
Exactly.
That's
making
a
sure
good
that-
bingo. That's for
Right.
Judy. That's for
Exactly.
Judy. The damas.
Drag
I'm referring
queen
to
bingo,
the
Las
yeah.
Damas.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm
we've
referring
got
to.
people who are really, really invested in the longevity and keeping that history alive. And
Yes.
it's my hope that we see a day where Centro Español and Centro Asturiano are able to emerge, and we'll see the Spanish clubs at Centro Asturiano. It's something that, to me, with Centro Español being the oldest social club in our area, that it's important we preserve it, and that's not a given.
Right.
It's not a given that it's going to survive.
A reminder to the past and the conversations that you had with your grandmother, unbeknownst to you at the time, but she was letting you know that they knew back then that there was power and strength in numbers. So sometimes you have to come together in order to survive whatever's going, thriving against you. So that may be your conversation opener with the other groups to say, listen, if we're going to perpetuate this for the next 100 years, we need to come together.
Absolutely.
So
yes. We're stronger together.
And let me just share this, Joey. I think you can agree with me that you have a friend here at the conversation. Anytime you want to come on here, if it's important to you, Taryn, it's important to that community. It's important to us as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate
course.
that.
Well, we are a community radio, and that's what we're doing.
Joey, did you come up with that by yourself?
did. I did.
It's written right over there on the wall. So, Taryn, let's talk about, and we know what Jake, his passion is, land use and all of its all of its iterations. What is it that drives you now? What area of legal practice are you working in presently?
So I founded my law firm 8 years ago. So I was fortunate to work in some great law firms. I was in-house. I worked under 2 different governors. And I founded my practice 8 years ago. It's a boutique employment and business law firm. And so we help. It's a little bit different. We have clients that are both employers and employees, because I just try to do the right thing. When the case comes in, I try to see, is this somebody I can help? What I love about the employer side is that I can help them put together policies and think about what type of corporate citizen they want to be, and I can affect thousands of lives with that one policy,
100%.
as opposed to just the one employee. And it was a great time during COVID, believe it or not, to do that, to really sit down and think about, okay, what
Long-term
are we
planning.
going to do? How are we going to make this work for your employees? And I'm fortunate that I have wonderful clients who all think about those employees as an integral part of their businesses. And if they don't think that way, they're probably not a client of mine, because I've got a no jerk policy.
That's so Tampa. You see that heart that you're talking about, and that consciousness that was put in there by your abuela and your abuelo and all of those, because that's who we are, I think, at our core. I think that's why you wanted to always come back, and why you told Jake, if this is going to work, you got to know that I'm going to be here, because that has a draw. It has a strong draw. Am I wrong?
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And, to tie that all in, so this is a big week. On top of being today the first day of school for my 4th grader in pre-K.
Whose
child.
name is?
My 4th grader is Laurel, and my pre-K guy, he is Max.
Laurel and Max. Go get them. Go get them.
But this is also a big week for their papa, Jake, because he and his entire team actually joined my law firm on Monday.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
so thank you.
If we had a clapping sound effect, we would do that right now.
Yeah, so this has been a great opportunity for us. It's something we talked about 20 years ago when we were in law school.
Look at that.
That we wanted to build something together. We wanted to create a culture where people felt like they could be successful at all the things. They could be there for their families and be there for the communities that they serve. And so we're doing that.
Joy.
Monday was...
Could this be the next Morgan and Morgan for the people? I'm just saying. The kids are small. Their kids could grow up and go to Notre Dame and join the organization.
It can happen.
Okay. I'm going to put it out there in the universe.
So does this mean, and help me with this, does this mean that you and Jake are partners, or you're the boss?
Both. Both can be true, Joe. Both can be true.
You can hold both of those thoughts in your head at the same
We
time.
can be partners, but I'm always the boss.
Joe, you want to ring the bell on that one? Because I don't think Taryn can reach it from there.
I get it.
I love that.
I see that. So we're having fun with that idea. But let's talk a little bit real quick about that.
Sure.
He has to sort of go through certain kinds of mental gymnastics to make that work for him. How has that been in discussing that?
So far, so good. So this is, we're on day 3. But
Day 3.
Right. The reality is that he is a very thoughtful person. And one of the things we talked about and we spoke with people who are in business with their spouses was make sure you each have your own turf. And we're very fortunate in that while we have that overlap of social justice in our practice areas, we are not practicing the same thing. So he's never really in a position to undermine or question what my legal advice is.
He's got his own.
And vice versa.
Right.
Okay.
We each have our own specialties. We each have our own areas. But when put together, we can just offer a powerhouse to our clients.
Absolutely.
From anything from running their business to their employees to acquiring a site and building on it.
Absolutely.
That is, and that's pretty comprehensive if you think about it.
Yes.
That's I won't say one-stop shopping, but pretty close.
Pretty close.
Let me say that I've been so enthralled and engaged in this conversation with Taryn today that I've forgotten to tell you guys, if you'd like to join us here on the conversation, you can always call us at 813-239-9663. Send us a text at 813-433-0885. Operators are standing by, and Maddie's standing by to take your phone calls. And if you'd like to send us an email, dj@wmnf.org. I know there are people out there that are listening that know Taryn and maybe would like to call and say hello. But I would be remiss if I didn't offer that with about 15 and a half minutes to go in the show. I've never done that before, Joey. I've never been so engaged in a conversation that at the bottom of the hour forgot to give out the number.
I noticed.
That's called the Taryn effect.
I
by
see
the way.
it. Yeah, the Taryn effect. That's
Thank
right.
you.
By the way, I love the. We have to go back to something. I love the no jerk policy.
Isn't that cool?
The no jerk.
That was
policy.
buried. We buried the lead there, Joey.
Can this somehow be instituted throughout the world?
Yes.
The no jerk policy.
It would be a better place.
HR, right?
Right.
Every HR should have this as part of their.
Exactly.
Does that mean that you have been in a position already, or have you, where someone has come to you as a possible client and you've said no?
I don't think so.
Yes. So I have been in that position. Sometimes you get that gut feel right away.
Right.
Sometimes you start to realize as you have the client.
Yes.
What I do so much is putting together policies for companies. What are we going to do about your maternity leave? What are we going to do about, this sick employee and how we handle them? And, they've got this terminal diagnosis. What do you want to do about that? And you learn a lot about people.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. So my litmus test for a company, believe it or not, is what is their parental leave policy? And the reason is it's something that everybody is aware of, right? You came from a mom, or you
How
are
do you
a
value
mom,
the
you
family?
are a father.
How do you value the family?
Your family?
Yeah.
If there's no policy, okay, why is that? Are we just grinding and we didn't stop to think about it? But if there is a policy, how are you thinking about that? It doesn't need to be financial. Of course, it's wonderful if it is, but I recognize that not every company can do that, and they're not legally obligated to do that. But how are we incentivizing people to succeed with their families? And so, are you letting other people donate their PTO to somebody who is having that? That's not any extra cost to you as the employer, and it gets them.
And it helps the employee?
Exactly.
So you're so smart in being able to quickly discern that process. So if someone comes to you and they're trying to hide the fact that I'm really want to hire you to help me figure out how to exploit people and use them,
right?
You pretty quickly cut through that, I imagine.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And I know people don't like lawyers. I don't kid myself to think that, people are like, oh, you're a lawyer? That's awesome. No, that is not the reaction at dinner parties. They either want free work, some sort of family law advice, or they tell you about this lawyer that they hate, who got them in their divorce, or they had a horrible experience, and you're just like, sure.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, there's a meme out there in the world that lawyers are ruining our society. I mean, how extreme is that? Think about it, yeah.
And so, I just try to live my life in a way that counters it, that I don't have to say it, that I'm walking the walk.
Right.
That's excellent. Listen, we made a solicitation for callers, and we have one waiting on the line. So if it's okay with Taryn, let's go ahead and see who's calling in today from Atlanta. This is Terry from Atlanta. Terry, you're on the air. What say you?
Good afternoon, everyone. I've really enjoyed listening to the conversation with Taryn. And I will tell you, I love WMNF. I lived in Tampa for 8 years, listened to it there, and didn't stop listening just because I moved to Atlanta. So
Excellent.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Absolutely.
Taryn,
Thank you, Internet.
Yeah, no kidding. So, Taryn, I'm wondering, one of the reasons I heard that you love Tampa is because of its diversity. That is one of the reasons that I love Atlanta as well. And I'm wondering about what I perceive to be an attack on diversity in our country, and how does that play out in the employment setting? I'm concerned. Are employers prohibited from considering the diverse characteristics that a candidate might bring when they're hiring people?
Good question.
Yeah.
Great question. We'll take you off the air, Terry, and we'll let Taryn answer your question. But before you go, let me offer thank you for listening from Atlanta. Thank you. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Terry.
And thank you for being such a great fan of WMNF. We appreciate that so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that question. And, it's an interesting time. So I had my daughter, my third child, Carmen, in January. And it was a time where I couldn't keep up with the news headlines. And I just found myself thinking, is my entire practice area being dismantled? Like, do we no longer have an EEOC? Is there no longer a Department of Labor? And I think this is something that a lot of people who are business owners or running businesses are feeling, because for so long it has been, diversity makes you better. Diversity makes
Always
a stronger team. And I do feel that way. And I try to be a solid business partner and a business thought partner with my clients. And I'm going to say there is not a scenario where it takes away from your business. And there are ways that we can work around that. I have a lot of public clients. So I have some cities that are public clients, and they've called me and said, we're still interested in doing training for our employees and staff. Like, we recognize that this training helps them get along better. And when they get along better, we have a great work environment and our production goes up. But we're really concerned about these Doge or Florida Doge, and are we going to get our funding stripped from us because we're having these types of trainings? And what I would say is there's always room in the conversation for meeting your coworkers where they are. And if that coworker happens to be a Black female, then that is where you are meeting her. And we don't have to necessarily say that in the dialogue so that you don't get yourself in trouble, but we can recognize the value of meeting our employees where we are, and that we're all in a different place in life. We all have different past experiences that feed into how we react to our coworkers during the day. And so having those trainings is really important.
Therein lies the rub, Joey. And that's what we talk about almost every week ad nauseum. It's like, Joey and I are both, and our dear friends, our inner circle, we're all empaths. And we know we come to this organically. We know this. We don't have to be taught that. But there are people that need to be reminded that,
Absolutely.
you got to at least consider walking in that person's shoes for just a second to know how to speak to them, to know what their response is coming back at you and their frame of reference. Otherwise, you're just out here willy-nilly in the wilderness and you're just everything scorched earth. And I think these are part of the teachings that we learned at our abuela's knees. They just taught us how to be better people. Obviously, you've taken it to the next level, and you and Jake are making a really strong, fortified unit going forward. But that's something that, absent of that, what does it say culturally for us as a nation?
Right.
And also it was Terry in Atlanta, correct?
Terry, correct.
Also, to Terry's point, diversity happens naturally. This is how I see it.
Yes, it does.
It just happens. It's only when people oppose diversity that we end up in this situation where we are now.
I got it. Ready? Hey, you got your peanut butter in my chocolate. No, you got your chocolate in my peanut butter. And all of a sudden, we're all eating Reese's peanut butter cups. So what would café be without the leche?
Right.
Leche's pretty good on its own.
Right.
Café's okay, too. But when you put café con leche, boy, you got something special.
Exactly. Emphasizing that you're better together. But Terry's not wrong. It is a challenging time to be an organization that values diversity and that puts that diversity foot forward, because you've got people who are canceling you for doing that, but you've got people who are canceling you for not doing it. And
Yes.
so, do the thing that helps you sleep at night.
And I know someone who right now is an immigration attorney, and his position is that it's depressing.
Oh, it's awful. So I'll share with you. I have a client, and they have a lot of, I'd say, like line level workers. And so these are people who are making just a little bit above minimum wage. They're all over the Southeast. So Florida, Georgia, Alabama. And they called me last week because they received something saying that they needed to reevaluate I-9 status. Well, their workers who were there legally, who are Cuban, Venezuelan, Nicaraguan, Honduran, Haitian, had their work visas revoked. So these are people who were here legally, and the rules changed once they were here.
Right.
And when the rules changed, now they all of a sudden don't have
The
any
protections.
ability,
Yeah.
right? Any ability to work. And so he calls me and he says, "These are great workers. I have 130 open positions right now. I can't afford to lose all of these people. There's nobody signing up for these jobs." These are, these are not the jobs that people are looking for. These are low educated. And some of these people are, our grandparents' stories, right? Highly educated, but come here looking for opportunity. And they're willing to take that low-level job that is far below their education or previous status, but just for the chance.
Most
For
of them are in the
chance
medical field,
American
Taryn. Most of them are in the
dream.
medical field. The people,
Exactly.
recién llegado, the people that are recently here from Cuba that come here after being administrators in hospitals or doctors and nurses in Cuba, come here and they take CNA jobs because they're in the field, but that's all they can get.
Exactly.
And when you said these aren't the jobs you're looking for, I immediately heard the voice of the great actor Alec Guinness saying, "These are not the drones you're looking for." It's like, okay, people aren't, they're not lining up to do those jobs. And now we've got produce and we've got fruit that are rotting in the field, hundreds of millions of dollars of lost revenue because nobody's doing that because you've scared off all the workers. How does this, with the next 3 or 4 minutes that are left, and we've got so much to talk about, Taryn, an hour is not doing it justice with you, my love, but how do you see the story evolving? I mean, where is it going to go from here? Because these are pretty dark days.
They are, and I had to tell that client, he's had workers who have been with him for years, who were here legally, who did everything correctly.
By this time, they're family.
Exactly. And I had to tell him there is no way to legally employ them anymore.
Wow.
And I even called a friend of mine who is an immigration attorney, and I said, and she's great, you should follow her on Instagram, Saman Gonzalez in South Florida with U.S. immigration law. And I called her and said, "Am I missing something? Like, is there some way around this? They were here legally, and this executive order revoked their status, and they were here like they woke up one morning and they were legal, and they woke up the next and they were not." And she says, "There's nothing you can do because at this point, even if that you try to then apply for something else, apply for a visa while they're here legally, they're getting picked up at their appointments."
2 minutes left. Are they going to shut down Alligator Alcatraz? We don't have time, but I mean, 2 minutes. What does your gut tell you after you throw up in your mouth a little bit?
Right.
Then what do you think?
Well, let's start with the obvious. Should they shut down Alligator
100%.
Alcatraz? Absolutely. And this same attorney, Saman, had shared with me that she has multiple clients who are in Alligator Alcatraz that she has not been given access to, despite the fact that she's their legal representation, and not a single one of those clients has a criminal record. Not one.
Right.
These are people like you and me. And, I think it's lost on people as well that a lot of these people who are in these detention camps are working middle class because they could afford the process. They could afford the paperwork to start the immigration process, which is not cheap and it's not easy.
No, it's laborious. You got to have
guidance.
representations. Right.
Exactly. You generally have legal representation. So these are people who have been paying legal representation, who have been doing everything right, and who are in these detention
centers.
camps.
Well,
Exactly.
if we're lucky, maybe Mother Nature will see to it that she closes Alligator Alcatraz because the first big storm that comes through there is going to blow all of that stuff away. So
I don't disagree, and I would just hope that
nobody gets hurt.
Would move
Right.
By the way, the definition of a concentration camp is when you are held without legal process.
No process at all.
Is there anything you want to share real quick?
I know, Taryn. We're so sorry. We got about a minute and a half to go.
This has been wonderful. I've really enjoyed my time with you all. It has flown
Thank
by.
you.
Sweetie, it really has.
been wonderful,
We're going to
too.
have you back. If you'll come back.
I would love that, yes.
Because we need to continue this.
This would be great.
Absolutely.
Yes.
As a service to our community.
All right.
Joey.
Yes. Well, as always, special thanks to Jessica Green, our OG at the board. She makes this all happen. And also today, special thanks to Maddie who's been answering the phones. She's in there shooting the peace signs at me.
Is she shooting your deuce?
And then coming up next, it's the Music Wednesday with Sam, the wonderful Sam.
Sam, I am. So in the last 30 seconds before we get to the music that plays us off, how much did we learn today, Joey?
A lot.
I learned one thing.
A lot.
There's a boss sitting next to you, number one.
Absolutely.
Okay?
I get it.
And she may be all...
And I like it. I'm okay with it.
I love it. And she may be all of 5 foot nothing in her heels.
I get it.
But don't underestimate that woman when she walks in the room. She knows exactly who she is.
We need humans like this to get the world to work properly.
Yeah. That is the honest to goodness truth. So this has been, as it is always every Wednesday, a joy to be with you. Again, thank you for those that are listening out there, because we know you're out there.
Thank you all.
And even though you don't call, we certainly appreciate your ears and your attentiveness. Taryn Barbas, Kramer, what a joy meeting you.
Thank you. It's wonderful.
We'll have you back.
It's great.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. As always, this is WMNF Tampa.